The gunshot echoed across the street, sharp and merciless, and for a brief second, time itself seemed to shatter. A decorated black veteran, Marcus Cole, stumbled back, clutching his chest, his eyes filled not with fear, but with disbelief. He had survived war zones overseas, only to fall beneath the hand of the very uniform he once fought to protect. People froze. Some gasped. Others screamed. And in the silence that followed, one truth pulsed in the air like thunder. The cop who pulled the trigger had no idea who Marcus really was, or that eyes far more powerful than his were watching. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Marcus had always carried himself like a man carved from stone, yet inside he bore scars invisible to the world. Nights were often broken by sudden jolts awake, echoes of explosions that weren't there. But despite his battles within, he wore his medals not as trophies, but as reminders of the cost of courage. On that afternoon, he wasn't a soldier or a threat. He was simply walking home with groceries when flashing lights and suspicion stopped him cold. "Hands up," the officer barked, suspicion sharp in his voice. Marcus complied, slow, careful, dignity intact. But in the officer's eyes, his brown skin outweighed his service, his calmness mistaken for defiance. The crowd nearby shifted uneasily, whispers rising. Marcus thought of his daughter, waiting for him at home, the one who loved when he cooked her fried chicken on Sundays. He thought of her laugh, and of the empty chair she might soon face. The air thickened with fear. Dust lifted from the curb as shoes shuffled, as if the earth itself sensed something dreadful about to unfold. Then, in a split second of rash judgment, the officer's finger squeezed. The crack split the world in two. Marcus fell, and silence swept in like a tidal wave. What no one knew was that Marcus had been under quiet observation. His unit, still serving in classified operations, never stopped protecting him. And the Pentagon had their eyes on him that very day, monitoring his movements as part of a program that ensured veterans like Marcus were never abandoned. When the gun went off, alarms rippled across hidden networks. Within minutes, black SUVs swept into the street. The officers' confidence faltered as men in plain suits emerged, their badges carrying a weight heavier than any gun. The crowd parted, murmurs rising to stunned disbelief. Soldiers, Marcus's brothers in arms, moved in unison, retrieving him with precision, their boots striking the pavement in perfect rhythm, like a tide reclaiming its own. The cop's hands trembled now, realizing he had not shot just another man, he had shot a hero, one whose loyalty stretched far beyond the city limits. Marcus, though bleeding, opened his eyes to see faces he thought he'd never see again. Old comrades, men and women who once shielded him in deserts and jungles, now shielded him here. His breath rattled, but a faint smile tugged at his lips. He wasn't alone. He would never be alone. The tension in the air carried a question. What is justice in a world where heroes can be brought down by those sworn to protect them? Some in the crowd muttered that the officer was only doing his job. Others shook their heads in outrage. The moral line blurred for a moment, heavy and suffocating. Then a woman stepped forward, her voice cutting through the haze. "He served for us. For all of us. You will answer for this." And like a spark in dry grass, her words spread. Applause broke out. Not for the gun, but for the man who had fallen. Strangers raised their fists not in anger, but in solidarity. Marcus survived that day. And when he stood again weeks later, scarred but unbroken, he carried the weight of that crowd's applause in his heart. He looked at the officer in court, and did not spit bitterness, but spoke truth. "You saw an enemy. The Pentagon saw a brother, and I will not let fear rewrite my story. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back." The street where Marcus fell still remembers the sound of that gunshot. But now, when the sunlight strikes the pavement, people recall not the shot that dropped him, but the strength that lifted him back up. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Stories like this remind us that courage and justice still have a voice, and it deserves to be heard.